It's mid-July and we are now harvesting garlic. We finished up our soft neck harvest a few days ago. We are now getting full swing into the hard neck harvest. In this video, I'd like to share some notes about how we go about the harvesting process, what we're looking for in the garlic when we make the decision to actually pull them, and then we can share some notes about how we cure the garlic in our very limited garage. We talked about that part in detail last year, but there's some new notes to share. So in this video, we'll get into all things garlic harvest, so stick around. So the first thing I wanted to share notes on with this is what we use as a rule of thumb, very loose rule of thumb, your mileage may vary, in determining that yes, it's time to start pulling the garlic. There's a couple things that are at play here that have made that determination in our minds for the hard neck. One is that it's been pretty hot. It's going to get a lot hotter. So for our own physical comfort, it's an easier window right now. We also hopefully are looking at a bunch of rain maybe on Monday, 2 days from now, and more heat. So then very humid, very hot would be a harder time to harvest. So those have some influence. But then also what we're looking for is the dry down of the top. So it looks like the garlic is dying. And I could imagine if you're just starting to get into growing garlic and you see this, it would feel like, oh my God, I've missed my whole chance to harvest. But what we're looking for is about half to slightly more than half of the green stems of this garlic starting to senesce, starting to get dry and crumbly. Looks diseased, looks bad. This is actually the natural process of the bulb formation kind of finalizing and solidifying. If we pull the garlic when it's absolutely fully bright and green, we miss an opportunity to get the fullest size bulb that we could get. If we wait till it's incredibly brown and dried all the way over, like late summer, then the bulb will have already started to split and the skin won't hold intact. So we're looking for half to more than half of the leaves looking dry and crackly. Wherever you live, that might be around the sweet spot for thinking about pulling garlic. Today we have some wonderful folks helping us out. There's Andrew and Michael, and Sasha is processing in the back. And because it's been so dry and hot, our workflow is a little bit slower than in years past. Here, Andrew is using a wonderful tool. I actually talked about this tool in another video, and I'll link to that here if you're interested. It's made in Pennsylvania. Really great harvesting tool. And since the soil is so dry, so tight, that sort of work really helps loosen these up. Now, if we had ample room, we would pull these heads of garlic, leave the stalks intact, and bundle them in groups and hang them. And we actually did that with a few hundred heads yesterday, but we've run out of room in our garage to store more. So the rest of these, in our case, we've cut the stalks at around 6 to 8 inches, and we will put these on racks in our garage with good airflow. There'll be a fan blowing over them, and that will help start the curing process. But if you had more room, or if you had a much smaller number of heads of garlic, pulling them with the stalks intact, loosely bundling them, and hanging them in a cool, very breezy space is actually ideal for a slow curing. One of the side benefits of cutting the tops off in the field for us, it's a lot of biomass that we don't have to bring back to our home and then figure out what to do with. In our case, what we're doing is using them directly as a mulch in the field for crops that remain. We'll talk about this in greater detail in another video, the idea of growing garlic. This was garlic yesterday, interspersed with tree crops. These are hazelnuts and chestnuts. And as the garlic came out, we're using the tops of those garlic as moisture retentive and also rabbit and deer deflective mulch to support the trees for the rest of the season. So it's a nice bonus material, and it returns to the field rather than being composted elsewhere. In a moisture-rich year, our absolute preference by a long shot is to harvest garlic and immediately sow a follow-up crop. Some crops we've used in years past that have worked well are parsnips, beets, carrots, winter storage radish like black Spanish round radish, oats, a whole bunch of other crops that we've direct sown. We've also transplanted in after them. Because it's been so brutally dry, what we're doing now is as we harvest, we are unfurling round bales of hay on some of the beds with the intent to just let the bed rest until the fall. By then, hopefully we'll have enough soaking rains to penetrate that mulch, rehydrate, and get things back on track, and we can reassess setting these beds in different directions, either in the fall or next spring. But there's just not enough moisture for anything to germinate, unfortunately, but at least we can protect it. The last thing we would ever want to do is pull the garlic during a drought moment and leave the soil completely bare. That is a brutal proposition. I should get back to work here. Folks are working hard while I blab away, but just thought we'd share notes on the workflow we're using, the lens we look through to assess whether it's time for us to start pulling our hardneck garlic. Once we get the hardneck done, we'll work on elephant garlic next. If there's interest, we can share some notes on what we're learning about that crop. And just the nuance of our limited space requiring us to cut the stalks in the field between 4 to 6 inches long and to set them on racks with good airflow, and the encouragement, if you have smaller numbers of garlic, to leave the stems intact, bundled in groups of 10 or 20, and hung in a breezy, out of the direct sun sort of space. But that's our moment that we're in right here. We'll share more detailed notes on the intercropping system of garlic with tree crops soon enough. You can look for another video on that soon. And happy growing to you all. Hope you're getting luscious amounts of rain if you're needing that, and you're getting good growing wherever you are. Take care.